7 streaming channels. Chris Christie up in Air 7 HD over a high-speed pursuit. CHP chasing a woman behind the wheel of a stolen Honda CR-V. Northbound 5 freeway up the Grapevine, now approaching Gorman. We have made our way through Santa Clarita, through Castaic, and now approaching Gorman. You can see still pushing the pedal to the metal. There is at least that one unit behind. There are additional units up ahead. There is an air unit involved as well. She's pushing 90 to 100 miles per hour as she heads up into the high desert. Eventually, we will come out on the other side of these mountains, and we'll see where she decides to take us. She showed a head fake just a moment ago of getting off the freeway, now is maintaining the northbound side of the 5 freeway. She could take this all the way up to Bakersfield for all we know. We will see just how much fuel is left in the tank. You can see her hugging that number 4 lane there now as she finds a little bit of clearance. There was some heavier traffic earlier. She was able to navigate that. CHP taking this over from LAPD. The Sheriff's Department was tracking this through Santa Clarita as well. There have been numerous agencies behind this woman, but now California Highway Patrol, the lead agency with that primary black and white, doing an excellent job keeping up. In fact, just a moment ago, you may have seen where she tried to get off the freeway, went over the goal point, got on the freeway. He took the exit and came right back onto the 5 freeway and is now right behind her on her tail, about 5 or 6 car lengths back. He is getting ready in the event that she slows down for a possible pit maneuver on the freeway. That would be if the conditions were optimal, if there was no other traffic in the area and she did slow down. Right now, though, she's going too fast for a pit maneuver, so the next best option is going to be a spike strip. And there are units up ahead, if the opportunity allows, who are also ready to spike that vehicle if, again, they have just the right conditions to do so. In the meantime, you can see the squirrely driver weaving across all lanes of the 5 freeway. That primary unit doing a great job keeping up next to all those trucks as she tries to evade law enforcement. Right now, we only have a visual of that one CHP cruiser.
The female suspect in that vehicle, do we know where it originated, where that car was stolen from?
The original location was on the 118 freeway, so somewhere either in Simi Valley or perhaps on in the San Fernando Valley. LAPD picked this pursuit up. Unclear how they determined that it was stolen, but it is believed to be a Grand Theft Auto suspect behind the wheel of the stolen CR-V. But it was LAPD that picked it up initially and then handed this off in Santa Clarita. And now, as we say, this is now the 3rd agency, CHP, which will likely maintain the command of this pursuit for the duration here, especially once we get up into no man's land here.
Yeah, certainly, and I know that's quite of a steep incline as well. Very light traffic right now, but we certainly have seen some erratic, crazy driving from this suspect. Do we know if there's anybody? Oh, on the right side of your screen, by the way, is the time she tried to fool CHP and get off the freeway. But they weren't fooled for too long. They certainly got right back on the freeway to pursue the suspect. Do we know if there's anybody else in that vehicle with her?
That's a great question, Ellen. Right now, we do not know whether there's anybody else inside that vehicle. We just, I guess, I'm guessing that they have caught a pretty good glimpse inside the front seat to determine that it is a female. We have not seen that. We don't have visual confirmation of the driver's description, but they are reporting this as a female driver. You can see just from this angle, those windows are heavily tinted, really impossible to see from this distance. By the way, Ellen, I should reiterate, we are still a couple of miles away from this pursuit as we try to keep up with her. She is maintaining triple-digit speeds here, doing in excess of 110 miles per hour. So we are still trying to catch up. That CHP unit trying to maintain his speed. And right now, once we do catch up, we'll get a better glimpse to see if there's anybody in that passenger seat.
Yeah,
but right now, too early to say, just that driver that we're aware of.
Whoa, excellent camera work. If you're 2 miles away still, this is incredible to watch this. She is just flying by these other vehicles.
Yeah, a lot of hard-stopping moments here, especially with those other motorists in the way. You can see just how fast she's going, and some of the turns, even the simple lane changes that we've observed, have been very last minute and very erratic. And if you make a last minute lane change at a high rate of speed without complete control of that steering wheel, things could go awry very fast. It is a compact SUV, a little top heavy, and at these speeds, it doesn't take much to spin out of control or even flip the vehicle if you make one wrong move. So we've got a careful eye on the behavior behind the wheel here, as she is certainly desperate to evade that officer, but you can see the landscape up here. There's not really much escape opportunity for her to take advantage of. I mean, you really just have the 5 freeway. There's very few exits and very few roads once you get off the freeway, and all of them have CHP officers ready and waiting, and that's going to continue all the way up the state. I mean, she could travel all the way up the 5 freeway till she runs out of gas, and you can see they are already leapfrogging her with units behind, units ahead, really looking for that opportunity to potentially spike the vehicle and hopefully bring it to an end that way. But look at how that primary unit is skillfully navigating all of that truck traffic just to keep up with her, even using the shoulder when she has to get around traffic. And that primary CHP cruiser has done an excellent job, by my eye, keeping up with her. Not easy at these speeds.
Yeah, certainly not. And she's at least going 100 miles per hour. We've seen up to 113 miles per hour. That's pretty incredible, and just flying through all the different lanes and driving like that, that's a pretty scary situation. Thank goodness there's not a lot of traffic on the 5 right now, at least there.
Yeah, I mean, from a tactical standpoint, it seems to be in the best position, the best place is on the freeway for a pursuit just like this. Look at that, another black and white, ready to engage, just waiting there to make the U-turn, and now you have at least a couple of units on her tail now. But yeah, this is the safest place, all things considered, on a controlled freeway. Hopefully they could perform some kind of a traffic brake up ahead, and that would reduce the risk to other motorists and even supply the opportunity for a possible pit maneuver, but she'd still have to slow down tremendously to even consider it. But even a spike strip, if you can get rid of all of the other traffic and take them out of the picture and just have that one SUV coming towards you, much easier to lay down that spike strip, especially with only 3 or 4 lanes on the 5 freeway as it begins to narrow up ahead here.
Yeah, it certainly would be great to get her off the freeway, because this is a pretty scary situation. And just like you said, there's one way to where she's going. There's really no exits. There's nothing out there in the middle of nowhere. So I don't know where she thinks she's going to go. She's going to end up, like you said, in Bakersfield. But once there, then what? I don't know what she's thinking. None of us do,
exactly. And there are places to hide up there. I mean, it's obviously a more densely populated city. If she takes that route, right now we're in Fraser Park. Yet another CHP officer pulling over for her, making room to give her as much. Look at this! Almost crashing into those. Crashing into those construction barrels at a high rate of speed. That's the kind of thing that could really end this in a crash really, really quickly if she starts colliding with debris or objects, especially those construction cones or barrels. Those will definitely put a dent and potentially put a stop to this pursuit really quick. And she is using that shoulder because there's really very little room to play with, threading the needle through the barrels, trying to get around this traffic. It's down to 2 lanes. Just like I mentioned, as the freeway narrows, there's very limited opportunity for them to chase her. However, she is managing to navigate these nooks and crannies, squeezing through traffic here, squeezing through construction barrels, trying to get away from those primary units. They are still keeping up with her, but this is becoming more and more dangerous by the second at these speeds on these narrow lanes.
Yeah, we've never really, you don't really see this kind of speed when on this freeway like this, on shoulders and going through those traffic barrels. My goodness.
Yeah, and when first of all, for some reason, for whatever reason, when we take these pursuits up into the high desert here, it typically happens at night, where we are very limited and don't have the best optics on pursuits like this. This is a unique daytime pursuit up the Grapevine along the 5 freeway, finally getting our first glimpse of the female driver, who appears to have possibly a pink backpack or maybe a shopping bag on her lap. So she's steering that vehicle with something, a large object. I don't want to speculate what else it could be, because I mean, it could be anything, quite frankly, but she has a large object on her lap as she tries to wrestle with that steering wheel, even taking her hands off the wheel.
Oh my goodness.
Taking her hands off the wheel at triple-digit speeds, doing about 110 miles per hour up the 5 freeway, ruffling through that bag. It looks to be either a shopping bag or a backpack that she's rifling through to try and get something, but she is taking her hands off the wheel at extremely dangerous speeds, passing by every other car in front of her, using that shoulder now to evade those primary units. This is not looking good, Ellen. Not at all.
No, I feel for those drivers on the freeway. If anyone's watching, you have your friends or family on that freeway, give them a heads up, because my goodness, this is a cringeworthy type of pursuit.
Yeah, it really is. And by the way, in the last several miles here, we are now on a downhill incline that is really accelerating all of the traffic on the freeway, including that pursuit vehicle. She's obviously got the pedal to the metal, still pushing 95 miles per hour here, and she will have a decision to make whether to take the 5 northbound or to get off at Bakersfield. We'll see what she chooses coming up in the next couple of miles, but the traffic situation should lighten a little bit more, but she's still hugging that backpack, trying to get something out of it, driving with one hand on the steering wheel, that left hand wrapped around the steering wheel, and that right hand trying to get a hold of something in the bag. She is all over the paint now, all over the road, as she tries to continue this pursuit up the 5 freeway. This is just a really nerve-wracking situation. There's so many other cars, even though volume is relatively light. Just one wrong move, and somebody's going to get hurt here at these speeds, as this distracted driver is now just refusing to slow down.
Yeah, watching her go through that backpack and looking down while she's going that fast, you don't realize how fast you come upon another vehicle if just a second looking down.
Yeah, and you have to wonder what else they are aware of here in terms of, what they know about the suspect. Is she potentially armed? If they don't know that, they have to assume that. I mean, what is she reaching for?
Right.
It's a possibility, at least, that they have to consider. What else could she be reaching for in that bag? What is so important that she is rifling through that backpack? It's a large bag on her lap as she continues up the 5 freeway here. Again, weaving across all lanes, and the CHP, if we widen out a little bit, has put a little bit of distance between them and her. So they have fallen back about a quarter mile at least, and whether that's intentional or unintentional, I'm not quite sure. It's possibly a tactic that they're using, but in any event, they have fallen back for whatever reason. Yeah,
well, maybe it is just to take some of the pressure off her, and maybe she'll slow down, but she doesn't seem to be showing any sign of slowing down. In fact, she's speeding up. As you said, it's a downgrade hill now, so that's a pretty scary situation.
Yeah, and now we've kind of cleared most of the mountains up here, so she is now in the desert, continuing up the Grapevine here near Tehachapi, approaching exit 215 along the 5 freeway here. No signs of getting off, although that's always an option, but the exits become fewer and further apart as you head up this way. So we'll see if she shows any signs of exiting the freeway, or if she just stays on the 5 freeway. That's not quite accurate, but it's not too far off. She's definitely doing triple-digit speeds, not quite 130 in that CRV, but as we get a little bit closer, it'll start to narrow down on her exact speed, but you can see she's going much faster than every other vehicle on the road. So definitely a high rate of speed that they are unable to keep up with here. Yeah, showing 113 miles per hour. We're going to show on the right side of the screen there just a few minutes ago, had to maneuver over these traffic barrels, and there you see it right there, knocked one over, was kind of trapped for just a little bit. Thought for maybe that would slow her down, but no, in fact it just speeded everything up. Yeah, it really did, and if anything, maybe she's starting, it could be an optical illusion. Let's go ahead and throw up the real-time speed tracker. It looks like she's slowing down slightly. So instead of 110, we're still talking in the 90s as she passes every other truck on the freeway. Not a whole lot of car traffic. Again, volume relatively light up here, but just enough to be dangerous if she hits anybody or comes in contact or makes a last-minute move to avoid hitting anybody. That is going to send that vehicle spiraling out of control. And in any event, it's not even anywhere close to safe for a pit maneuver. So they're going to track this from above, They have units up ahead. They will likely, and they may already be in the process of handing this off to another CHP division office who will be waiting for her up ahead. But they have eyes on her. They are tracking her. They know where she is. They don't know where she's going, but right now, as long as she sticks to the 5 freeway, that's going to play very well into their bag of tricks. They could have units waiting for her with a spike strip at some of the exits just in case she does get off, even with other traffic on the freeway, or if the traffic lightens up even more, especially if they can perform that traffic break, then they could lay down a spike and potentially spike those tires. But again, at these speeds, it's tough. I mean, a spike strip is tricky at any speed, but at these speeds, it's tougher and more dangerous to really get an effective spike in those tires.
Yeah, we're showing 119 miles.
There she is, getting off.
Okay, exiting now. Okay, let's see what happens now.
Getting off. I want to get an exact exit here.
Wheeler Ridge Road and Laval Road.
Wheeler Ridge. She's getting off at Wheeler Ridge, making a right turn. That's going to put her on the westbound side of Wheeler Ridge, finally getting off the freeway for the first time in a while. Now, she was on surface streets in Santa Clarita. We did not observe that, but we will see how the driving behavior changes now that she's off the freeway on Wheeler Ridge Road, coming up on a red light. Will she go through it? Will she stop? No sign of law enforcement here, and she's going to pause and go right through the red light. Right through the red light. CHP, are they back there? No sign of CHP here yet.
Okay.
But presumably they are trying to catch up. I'm guessing. I have not heard that, but I'm guessing they're trying to catch up, and they certainly do on her. Now it looks like she's getting back on the southbound side of the freeway. Getting back onto the southbound side of the 5 freeway.
Oh boy, so going back to where we started, okay.
This is going to be interesting. Right off the bat, we're going to be going uphill in the next mile or two as she heads back up the incline that led her down here to the desert in the first place. Whether she has a destination in mind or she just wants to backtrack towards the valley where there's more opportunity to maybe dump the vehicle, or, I mean, you know, you can only imagine what's going through her head. I hesitate to even guess, but she's got a lot of real estate to backtrack on before she could even think about hiding anywhere.
Yeah.
She's got so many eyes on her at this point that unless she's got a full tank of gas or a relatively healthy tank of gas, she may very well just run out of fumes and end up pulling over. I mean, that's a possibility. It certainly would be the ideal scenario here, but we'll see. We'll see just how far she's going to take this. There's going to be more units, CHP units, ready for her as she continues southbound. Again, there was a good possibility of them transitioning this chase to another CHP division, but now it's going to enter the Newhall division once again here, and they'll be able to take it over and follow her southbound. Now, once again, as she travels southbound, the other thing that's going to change is the traffic. The traffic is a little more dense once you get a little further south of here. It's still relatively light for the next 5 or 10 miles, but eventually that's going to slow her down as she gets closer to the metro area. We'll see how this ends. I just have a feeling she's going to eventually run out of steam here, but who knows, Ellen? You know, these have so many ways of surprising us.
As you've seen over and over again, I certainly hope that she just comes to her senses and pulls over. Just a second ago, we were showing you some video on the right-hand side of the screen. Maybe we can pull it. There you go. Showing you how crazy this pursuit is. There she is. She has a backpack on her lap, and she's driving with no hands at one point, just reaching into her backpack. She's rifling through it, looking for something. We're not sure what. But, yeah, so driving at a high rate of speed, with no hands or one hand while looking down at her backpack, you know. So it was just a terrible situation.
Yeah, it really is nerve-wracking, and now we have kind of temporarily lost that view through the driver's side window. But yeah, I mean, she was really clutching onto that backpack and going through it. Seemed to be intently looking for something in there. Again, can't imagine what it was. But hopefully she's got both hands back on the wheel here, swerving to get around some of these trucks here. She's done a pretty remarkable job. Even at that construction zone, she managed to squeeze through those barrels, almost like a driving course, like an obstacle course. She really managed to thread the needle down there, and she's going to approach that construction zone once again here if she continues southbound. But that is not easy to do at those speeds. She was weaving across all those lanes, squeezing through traffic in between 18-wheelers. We've seen a certain amount of competency behind the wheel here, but we may also be seeing a certain amount of luck as well, because it is not easy to maintain control of that little SUV at these speeds in these conditions, especially without both hands on the wheel.
Right, exactly. We'll give her that. That definitely has been some impressive maneuvering of this vehicle. And I think she's still clutching that pink bag or backpack. And can't
She
tell.
still got something.
Yeah.
Looks like she may have come in contact with something. Look at that front right fender has some damage to it. She's dragging the trim to that fender is kind of dangling. She might have struck somebody during this pursuit, or perhaps prior to us picking this up. One thing I noticed, if you look in that passenger seat, Ellen, again, some sudden moves there with that steering wheel, but if you look at that passenger seat, it appears to be empty. So a good possibility that this is an empty vehicle. Let's hope. Let's just hope that, at least for the time being, this is most likely an empty vehicle. We can just kind of cross our fingers there for the time being, but that passenger seat is empty. She is still fooling around with something in her lap, and our first sign of visual damage to the front right fender of that vehicle.
Yeah, Chris, could that have happened when she hit that traffic barrel?
That's a good possibility.
I wonder.
That might have done it. That could have done it.
Yeah.
It's very possible.
Yeah, at such a high speed. Who knows? I don't know if these are real sturdy. I don't know what kind of car. I mean, CR-V Honda, but yeah, that's quite a bit of damage if that's what it was.
Yeah, it's a little odd. There's also, it looks like the bottom side of the front bumper is dangling as well there.
Right.
Maybe the undercarriage, some piece of plastic perhaps is dragging on the front as well. So something tells me this may have come from something else, maybe not that barrel, but it's possible. You never know. We haven't seen her come too much closer to any other cars, but again, this pursuit was going on for at least 15 or 20 minutes prior to us picking it up, and maybe even longer than that. So we just don't know. At one point, I should say, she was zigzagging through the Santa Clarita Valley on surface streets before we eventually caught up with her on the 5 freeway. So it looks like a mostly freeway pursuit here, but at one point she was engaging with sheriff's deputies and LAPD units on surface streets at various points in Santa Clarita, as well as the San Fernando Valley. So again, we weren't privy to what was going on there, but for whatever reason, at this juncture, it does not look like CHP has had the opportunity to re-engage, although, did you see one, Robbie? I think, okay. So she may be coming up on a spike strip here, Alan. We'll keep an eye out for that, but yeah, that would be great. It would be great. There's nobody behind her, but we now have information that leads us to believe that there may be a spike strip waiting for her up ahead here.
Oh, we can only cross our fingers and get her off the road, especially as she's going to come down further south on the 5. She's definitely going to run into some more traffic.
Go ahead. Yep, we're going to see that spike here any minute if they're able to lay one down. There's apparently an empty stretch that they're going to attempt to spike her with here. Again, she's in a pretty empty stretch of the freeway. You can see nobody in front of her, nobody behind her.
Right.
If they could place that strip down, that's all about timing and luck there, and skill, obviously. But if they can lay down a good spike, that would be great for everybody involved here.
Oh yeah, we're all going to be holding our breath, hoping it works.
All right, so she's continuing southbound now. There is some light traffic, mostly trucks up here, mind you, which is, you know, it's more dangerous for her than anybody else. You know, God forbid she hit a truck. You know, it's much better than hitting another, you know, minivan full of kids or, you know, something like that. So this is a well-traveled freeway when it comes to cargo trucks, and she's seeing a lot of that truck traffic this afternoon, and anytime that she sees any cars, she's using that shoulder to get around traffic. The 5 freeway is about 3 lanes right here, so it varies between 3 and 4 lanes. She's been using that shoulder at various points. She's still maintaining her speed here, about 90 miles per hour, maybe a little bit faster. upwards of 100 now as she continues southbound on the 5 freeway. Still have yet to see that spike strip attempt, but I think it may be coming up in the next half mile or so.
Okay, let's all cross our fingers and hope that, oh, there's this, okay, there's the CHP right behind her
There's
now.
the CHP unit. You'll notice he didn't accelerate. He did not have his lights and sirens on. So that is intentional. They're gonna give her some space here and let the unit up ahead go ahead and give it that spike attempt. They are not gonna pursue her yet from behind. They've laid back, they've pulled back, taking a different posture, using a different tactic, setting up for that spike up ahead. If that has the desired effect, then they can pull up behind her. If it doesn't, they could still pull up behind her if they think that's going to help get her off the road. What they don't want to do at this point is agitate her any more than she already is, because she's, you know, well, they're pulling up behind her now, so that may be an indicator right there that they're looking to re-engage. I can't tell from this angle whether those sirens are on or those flashing lights.
Yeah.
They look to be off. They look like they're off, but he is right behind her, and so we'll see if she speeds up or potentially has a change of heart here. You never know. Sometimes we follow these pursuits for hours, and then when you least expect it, they just pull over. Maybe it's because they're running low on fumes, or some other reason they just run out of stamina, and they decide to just pull over. That would be the best scenario, but we'll see what happens.
All right, we're about just 30 seconds or so from being on Eyewitness News at 3 o'clock on ABC7. So we're going to just talk to you for, we're going to talk to you in about 15 seconds, Chris.
That's good.
This is Eyewitness News with live breaking news.
Hi, we're following breaking news on ABC7 Eyewitness News at 3 o'clock. A dangerous pursuit through the Grapevine, and this is happening right through the Antelope Valley right now. I'm Ellen Leyva.
And I'm Colleen Sullivan. Let's go back over to Chris Christie in Air 7 to tell us the latest details on this pursuit. Chris.
Yeah, I want to recap what we're watching here. A high-speed pursuit down the 5 freeway, coming down the Grapevine as CHP tries to approach this vehicle from a number of different angles. They've got units off the freeway, they've got units behind her on the southbound side of the 5 freeway, and units waiting for her up ahead. You can see that black and white getting on the freeway, transitioning on right now. Again, they are trying to get this woman off the road. This was an LAPD pursuit that started somewhere near the San Fernando Valley on the 118 and ended up in Santa Clarita. LA County Sheriffs followed her through the valley, and then eventually CHP took it over on the 5 freeway as she continued all the way up past Castaic, up the Grapevine, and now going southbound after making a U-turn just a few miles back near Frazier Park. And now you can see she's continuing on the southbound side at triple-digit speeds in excess of 110 miles per hour. There is nobody else in the vehicle that we are aware of, but she has at times been rifling through either a shopping bag or a backpack that is in her lap that we saw just a few minutes ago. You might be able to re-rack some of that video. You can see her with a backpack in her lap, a pink backpack, with one hand on the steering wheel, at times taking both hands off the steering wheel at triple-digit speeds, coming very close to other traffic. At one point, she even struck a construction barrel as she sped through a construction zone, but it is unclear at this point what has caused that damage. Some minor damage on the front right fender of that vehicle. Also, the front bumper appears to be dangling off as well, at least a part of it anyways, as we take a closer look at the front end of that stolen CRV. Again, that is a Grand Theft Auto suspect behind the wheel of that Honda CRV, guys.
On the right-hand side of the screen, we're watching video from just a little bit earlier where she's driving with no hands. She's rifling through that pink backpack, at sometimes with one hand.
All lanes, weaving across all lanes over the gore point. Almost went airborne there, to be honest with you. Losing control. This will do it. A major rollover crash under the freeway at Quail Lake Road. She might have seen something that she didn't like there, maybe even a spike strip, but in any event, she made a last-minute decision to get off, and that is the end. She is in a very, very major crash, rolling over multiple times into the pillar of that overpass. CHP is going to approach that vehicle. It'll be surprising if the driver wasn't even ejected there. This is a major collision at the end of this pursuit at the 5 freeway and Quail Lake Road. What you guys saw just now was about as bad as this could have possibly ended for the driver inside that vehicle. Man, that was rough, guys.
Oh, Chris, look
I'm
at
sorry
that.
you had to see that, but
Yeah.
that was a rough crash.
And there's that pink backpack that
I was
it was
thinking
ejected from
there,
the vehicle
yep.
there. Wow,
Possibly
Chris.
the
Oh, that is a horrible accident.
And you can see instantly those CHP officers approach the vehicle unarmed, or they're armed, but they were not, you know, they basically confirmed just by just by watching the body language here, you could tell that that driver at the very least is incapacitated at this point. Obviously the call is going out for fire rescue. They're going to come out here and either attend to her or declare this a DOA, but that is a hardly survivable crash by my eye.
Yeah, well, we apologize for everybody at home that had to see such a distressing accident, and boy, that was certainly, that was a bad one, Chris, and thank goodness there were no other cars involved and that there was no other vehicles in her way. Oh my
I don't know what made her decide to weave across the entire freeway at the very last second.
Right.
But it's possible, and I don't know this for sure, but this is the same exact area where we were expecting to see that spike strip. And so we don't have confirmation, and I don't want to pretend that we do. But this is the area where she may have seen either a patrol unit ahead of her or something else that gave her the last minute instinct to swerve across the freeway and try and exit the freeway at Quail Lake Road, only to lose control of the vehicle, off-roading for a couple of seconds and then colliding with that guardrail and eventually rolling over right into the pillar of the Quail Lake Road overpass. Just a terrifying end to this pursuit.
And not a good sign that they're not looking in the vehicle or speaking with anyone in that vehicle. So, well,
I know that was really unbelievable. I don't think that we've really seen at the end of a pursuit happen quite so violently. Again, this is on the 5 North, so of course this is happening through. Chris, was this an exit? Was it off? I'm just trying to think about traffic that might be impacted, but it was a. Yeah, you can see this area. Thank goodness doesn't have a lot of drivers on it.
Yeah, no, the freeway is not going to be impacted here, fortunately, so that's some good news for drivers, but she was transitioning onto Quail Lake Road, and it was the transition road, that windy transition road, that that just didn't allow her to take that turn at that speed. She never really slowed down. She took she made a last minute, it's just the worst. She made a last minute move across the entire freeway and then tried to swerve around the transition road at 100 miles per hour without ever even braking, and then just lost control of the vehicle at that speed. It was really curtains the minute she crossed over. I just you can only imagine you know, what the condition of that person is at this point. But you can see CHP now getting into position to cordon off the surrounding area here. They're going to control the scene and wait for fire rescue, but it may take a few minutes before they actually can get somebody in here, but they have a lot of work to do and a major crash at the termination of this pursuit that's going to have to be investigated.
All right, Chris Christie, nobody covers pursuits like you. We're grateful to you. Thank you so much. And we're going to just stick around and see how this traffic situation. Okay, so there the CHP's blocked off that part of the freeway there.
Yeah, this is a major artery. You can see that. This is one of those major arteries from Southern California to Northern California. So you can see all the semis that are going to be impacted, all the traffic that's going to be impacted at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Again, we were just watching this. We were watching this pursuit, and we were watching the driver of this stolen CRV really taking risks when they were in this pursuit, driving at such rapid rate here. And then, of course, And we saw the CHP in pursuit. And Chris, this started as a stolen vehicle possible. That's what the call came out as, correct? And then it just took on a life of its own. Maybe Christine can't.
Might have lost Chris right there, but you're absolutely right, Colleen.
Yeah, I just caught the tail end there. Can you repeat that? I missed that.
I just said, Chris, this started out as a stolen vehicle, a CRV. We know these cars don't travel that quickly, but boy, oh boy, we saw this driver driving so quickly on the freeways, and then it just took on a life of its own, I was saying, because she just kept going faster and faster.
She was desperate to get away. Every time they came even close to her, she accelerated, she pushed the pedal to the metal, and just did whatever she could to evade those primary officers. And then, for some unknown reason, once she made it far enough up the grapevine, and that was going to be the point, by the way, where we were going to figure out whether we were going to go up to Bakersfield or what she was going to decide to do there. For some unknown reason, she decided to reverse course, get off the freeway, and then get back onto the southbound side of the freeway. But the speeds picked right back up in excess of 100 to 110 miles per hour. And for whatever reason, as she approached this overpass, she made a very last-second, split-second decision to get off the freeway altogether from the right lane all the way over to the exit ramp, which was her last and final mistake.
No kidding.
Right.
And then again, you know, Chris, we talk about this. We cover pursuits all the time. We know the CHP, they're very well versed in handling pursuits on the freeways. We know after each pursuit, we know they're all different. Chris, you are the expert with the pursuits. You know every pursuit is different, but they have to still look at these with a fresh set of eyes and kind of debrief. What did they do? What could they learn from each of these pursuits? What do you think when you saw this?
Well, one thing, you know, right out of the gate is that they cannot follow her. This is a great example of a situation where they could have never made that move with her. She's desperate enough that and we saw her do this earlier in the pursuit, where she made like a fake attempt to get off the freeway at an exit ramp, and then at the very last second, she got back on the freeway as if she was going to lose that black and white. That black and white CHP cruiser could not make that last-minute decision and turn with her, so he kept going and then got back on the freeway. In this case, if there were units right behind her, which there were 2 units by my count that were right behind her near the end of this pursuit, and if she thought that getting off at the last second was going to lose those units, that may be one of the things that led to her trying to pull that crazy maneuver. But physics don't allow you to make a maneuver like that and get off of a curved transition road at those speeds without braking much sooner and much harder than she did. She hardly showed signs of braking, and once her right tires hit the dirt, she just spun out. There was no traction. She lost control of the vehicle, spun into the guardrail, and then into the pillar there of the Quail Lake Road overpass. I know we've got some video to re-rack for you. We're going to actually replay the end of this in slow motion without showing the actual crash. So you can see her speeding down the southbound side of the 5 freeway across all 4 lanes, from the right lane over to the gore point, over the paint where she's beginning to lose control, because that is a dirt patch between the exit ramp and the main freeway, and then tries to regain control on the exit ramp, going at about 100 miles per hour, riding the center lines before losing control again right here, where she loses control of those right wheels. Once she hits the dirt there, that's where she spins out, and that is the end of the story. She just had no chance of getting out of this one.
All right, Chris, we're going to check.
Accident.
It really was. And Chris, we'll be checking back in with you. Stay with us. We'll be right back.